The real reason you can't find your purpose. You're not confused because you don't care. You actually care a lot. That's what actually makes it so frustrating. You have ambition, you have standards, you try to wake up early, you try to build something meaningful, but when you try to figure out what direction to actually point, that ambition, nothing really clicks. You change your mind every month, you get excited about something, commit to it for a few weeks, and then certainty fades and you're back to square one. Try to listen to your parents or try to rely on your feeling because people tell that is effective to find out what suits you. But where does it actually bring you? And meanwhile, people around you seem to have figured it out. They know what they're working towards, which makes you start to wonder if the problem is really yours. If you're missing something that other people don't miss. It is not you. The real reason you can't find your purpose has nothing to do with who you are. There's nothing wrong with you. There's everything to do with the method you're using. And today I'm going to show you a method that actually is effective. Every year without direction is a year you're not building. Not skills, no career, not a life that feels like yours. You stay in a holding pattern, waiting for clarity before you commit to anything, while time keeps moving. Most people stay there for years, not because they're lazy, not because they lack ambition, because they use the wrong method. I'm a psychologist. I assess people professionally, their personality, their strengths, their fits for specific roles. And one of the core principles of psychological assessments is you never draw conclusion from one single data point. Not one conversation, not one feeling, not one test. None of these are enough. The reason your current approach isn't working is not because you haven't found the right test, or it's because you're treating one noisy signal as if it is the answer without combining multiple information points. The proven way to find the clarity that will help you, the effective method to finding direction in your life, which is proven for a lot of people, is what I call the life purpose profile. And what I'm going to show you is how to map these 4 dimensions of yourself, strengths, interests, values, identity, as important and diverse information points that, if overlap and are convergence, point you into the direction of your purpose. And the more you try to use it, the more accurate the map becomes and the better you will feel about yourself. So the first dimension you need to take into account is strengths. So these are the things you're naturally good at. And you could use what skills come naturally to you and create value for the people around you. And a lot of people, they only think, what do I think that are my skills, my strengths? And they forget to ask others. Because people consistently rate themselves based on who they want to be and not who they actually are. So try to see where the overlap of your view and the view of other people come together. So ask people close to you, this could be your family, co-workers, people in school. What do you think that I'm genuinely good at? Write these things down. The overlap is more accurate than anything you could come up with on your own. The second dimension are your interests. Interests are what pull your attention without you forcing it. Not what excites you for 2 weeks, but you keep coming back to across the years and across multiple different situations you're in. What you read, what you watch, what you talk about. So the question for you is, what activities and topics repeatedly pull my attention? Don't ask yourself to find this out what you're interested in, but look at your past behavior, because that behavior is more honest than any interest questionnaire. The third dimension is your values. So values answer a different question, not what you're good at or drawn to, but what must be present for you in your work, in your activities, to feel worth doing. To assess this, would you still care if nobody saw and you receive no recognition for it? If yes, that's a value. If no, it more is a performance. And this matters because you can have the right strengths and the right interests and still feel wrong if your work violates your values. The fourth dimension is your identity or your life narrative. This is a deep one and the hardest one to put into words as well. Try to answer, what story am I trying to live into? Or more specific and concretely, the problem you have solved yourself could be used to build a career around. And is that also the case for you? Let me give you an example what this looked like for me. A few years ago, I was convinced that I wanted to work in marketing, using psychology to understand how people think, building communication that influences behavior. On paper, it looked perfect. Psychology, communication, influence, 3 things that I genuinely care about. I built an hypothesis and I tested it. I did an internship and I hated it. The work felt manipulative rather than meaningful. The environment gave me no autonomy. I was competent at some of it, but something felt fundamentally wrong every single day. The hypothesis failed. And the failure gave me actually more clarity than any personality test I had ever taken. I went back to the 4 dimensions. My strengths pointed towards independent thinking, listening, and explaining complex ideas. My interests kept coming back to psychology and personal development. My values were autonomy, self-expression, and purpose. And my life theme, the problem I've been trying to solve since my teenage years, was this. I struggled deeply with lack of direction myself. I used psychology to find clarity. And now helping other people do exactly that is the thread running through everything I built. When I looked at those 4 things together, the direction became obvious. Not as a sudden revelation, as a quiet recognition, of course. This was already here. I just hadn't mapped it yet. And that is what convergence feels like. Educating psychology, coaching people is something for me because those 4 criteria of the life purpose profile converged and aligned. This week, I want you to do one thing. Answer these 4 questions in writing. What are my strengths? What are my interests? What are my values? And what is my life theme? Not in your head, but writing it down. The act of writing forces clarity that thinking alone never produces. It orders your thoughts. It amplifies the thinking. And it makes it real. Then, what do the people closest to me say I'm consistently good at? What have I voluntarily read, watched, or done the last 3 months when nothing was expected of me? What must be present in my work for it to feel worth doing? So that's the values. And the last one, what problem have I been trying to solve my whole life? Then read your answers back. Look for where 2 or more point in the same direction. And when you find 2 answers overlap, this is where the magic can happen and you can try to test your hypothesis. Right, based on this evidence, I seem to be a person who, fill in the blank. That sentence will be your first hypothesis. To make it perfect, write it down and then ask yourself, what is the smallest action I could take in the next week, 2 weeks, maximum a month to test whether this is true? That action is your experiment. You can think of small projects, volunteering, internships, helping someone out, trying to create a YouTube video, for example, was something for me to test these experiments and try to evaluate after you did the experiments how it made you feel. Did it enforce the hypothesis or not? If not, you have to try to set another hypothesis. Usually the feeling you have about the experiment is one of the most important indicators to see if it's true for you. If you're interested in a specific interest test that helps you define your interest, click this video where I can help you figure that part out for yourself.